Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to episode 16.
It was very begrudging there,
So
James.
it was very begrudging, and then, no, it was because
You couldn't even make eye
I know,
contact.
I'm not even looking. I got halfway through starting to say welcome back to episode 16, and then I was like, but you haven't been in episode 16 yet.
I hope not.
We're welcoming you back to the podcast.
Yes,
I'm assuming
that's it.
Okay, yeah. Look,
Yeah.
It makes sense somewhere in there on a
Yeah.
on a deep level. So, how's your week been this week, Anthony?
Good, just very busy, but good. Good, no, can't complain.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a bit like that this week. Actually, before we begin, we should probably talk about our beer.
Oh,
this
we
week.
should. We should.
Our beer this week, and this week we've gone for a handcrafted Stoke NPA from Nelson. So Stoke Brewery is in Nelson. This is a Nelson aromatic Nelson Pale Ale.
It's actually very good.
It's actually really.
We've been
really
lucky
nice.
so far with our selections.
We have been really lucky. So I'm loving this.
Yeah,
I'm
me too.
loving the Stoke Brewery. So that's the McCaffreys down there in Nelson. Family
That's
brewery.
nice.
So yeah, good job. Loving it. Right, so let's crack on into what we're going to talk about this week, and so heading into what's on top. And so what's on top this week? So what's on top this week comes from me this week, because it's stuff that has a little bit to do with my week and has a little bit to do with my job. And I'd like to talk a little bit about teenagers. And I know we've talked a little bit about millennials before, and so there will be maybe a little bit of crossover in terms of what we're talking about. Even though, bizarrely, from memory, a lot of teenagers now aren't millennials.
No.
They're the next
No,
generation.
Is it Generation Y or Z?
No, it's Generation Z, I think.
What are they going to do when they... Because they can't go any further.
Run out of letters.
Run out. So what do they... Do they go back to A? Or,
Generation...
or do they start using, like, the Greek alphabet?
Generation A+. Yeah,
Or it's
that'd be
like-
awesome. Generation Omega.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Generation Omicron.
Alpha. Or
Generation Alpha.
Beta or-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds
Or
way
do
more-
they go Generation ZA, and then ZB, then ZC, and then... No, you
don't know.
can't, because you're... No, they're at the end. So you'd go Generation A, and then AB, and then AC.
I legitimately don't know. Like, cause
It's almost like these things haven't been thought through, and
no,
they're just meaningless.
do we? Is there such thing as a Generation A already though? Like, because I know, like, you go as far back. Like, the
No.
only generations that I know, like, you sort of go far enough back. You kind of go like
It's X, isn't it?
baby boomers. I think is the oldest one I know of.
Yeah.
So there's baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, which is now known as millennials,
Yeah.
and Z.
So was
or
Gen X just
Gen
meant to be
Z.
sort of a...
Ah, look, Producer Caroline.
Oh.
Producer Caroline has all the information
Here
for
we
us
go.
because this is accuracy.
Very good. So how does it work?
Greatest generation. That's not even like greatest.
Rate yourself.
The earliest one is the greatest generation. 1930 to 1945.
I wonder
that
who
looks
was responsible for
no,
naming
until
that
1946.
generation.
Yeah, it's called the Greatest Generation.
From when?
1930 to 1946. 1946 to 1964.
Really? The generation that had World War II is the greatest generation?
Yep.
Responsible for...
Well, they wouldn't
Okay.
have been responsible. They would have been born in 1930, like so they would have been children of the war.
Oh, okay.
It's the greatest generation.
my mistake.
Baby boomers, 1946 to 1964.
Don't hear a lot about the baby boomers.
No, they're very quiet. The baby boomers. Generation X. Now you see, this is where I'm a little bit confused because there is all of a sudden overlap here. Right? So it depends on who you seem to be talking to, because Generation X, according to this, is 1965 to 1984, which would make me Gen X.
It's a 20-year...
Yeah. However, Generation Y, according to this, which actually bizarrely is according to the Harvard Center, which is the same place, is 1975 to 2005.
So I'm Gen Y.
Yeah, well, I always thought I was Gen Y.
Yeah.
Like that's what I was. However, millennials are now 1982 to 2004.
Yeah, because I always thought, like, you were Gen X if you were sort of a teenager during the grunge movement. That's what I've always associated with Gen X being...
Yeah. Well, kind of, yeah. But there you are. So millennials 1982 to 2004, which places me as a millennial. So right at the very early end of millennials, which makes us both millennials. And then they're sort of like from 2004 on to be determined.
They've had like 15...
You've got no name yet. You're just the nameless generation.
But they've had 15 years to name them.
Yeah, I don't know.
To be determined. They've had 15. They've had a lot of time.
So what I love is I could theoretically claim to be part of 3 generations. I could either be Gen X, Gen Y, or millennials, depending on which, like, you know...
What suits at the time.
Yeah, what suits at the time. But, you know, we talked about this last time. We talked about millennials. I don't really... like...
You're not a millennial.
I kind of go... Me being born in 1982, I kind of feel that... like, my life is really different from somebody who was born in 2000.
Yeah, same.
Like, I was leaving high school. Like, that was my final year of high school. Was 2000.
Well, because I think there was such a huge technological leap between in those 2 decades. So in the 90s and 2000. So there's a huge difference between, say, I was born in 92.
Yeah.
But there's a huge difference with my childhood and the technology available. Then someone born 8 years later. There's a huge difference. Like, I mean... you know, I saw the introduction of, like, dial-up internet and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas by the time you're born in the 2000s, by the time you're old enough to do that kind of thing, you know, broadband, cell phones, all that was prevalent. Whereas it wasn't when I was growing up.
No. Or me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I still come from the generation of being excited about having a home PC.
Yes,
that, you know, like
I remember
a
us getting
singular
our first,
home PC that you
being
could,
a big deal.
you know,
Windows
we still
95.
use floppy disks.
Yeah.
Some of you watching won't even know what a floppy disk is.
Yeah.
Or, in fact, I can even go one step further back. I remember computers running on cassette tapes.
Yeah.
So using cassette tapes and having to use, you know, Microsoft DOS prompts to run computers. Anyway, so those are our generations. But I wanted to talk a little bit about teenagers, and teenagers specifically. So because we didn't really, I don't think we really sort of touched on them in terms of our generational stuff when we talked about millennials last time. But I sort of want to talk a little bit about teenagers, and one of the reasons it's sort of on top for me this week was in a few conversations I've had with my students, and you know, things that I've come to see over a period of time, and I want to talk a little bit about teenagers specifically and social media. And I was trying to explain to my kids, and this is where this comes from. I was trying to explain to my kids, not my actual children, like my students, about how different my life was whenever I was their age. And it sort of struck me that for the modern teenager, they're always on.
Yeah.
From the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. So for me, if I went to school, let's say I was being bullied at school, or let's say I was having a rough time, or you know, whatever, I could go home at the end of the day and not have to deal with any of those people until I had to go to school again. Or, you know, I could go and be the person that I was at home, you know, because we all know that whenever we're teenagers, we're a different person at school than we are at home, and then we are, you know, like...
well, it's actually a common trope in 80s films.
Yeah.
Where, you know, the gang of kids will be cycling around the neighborhood, then they'll bump into the bully kids.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, which is quite different to...
Yeah. So... And I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, it must be exhausting. Can you imagine it? To live your entire life where you can't get away. And social media legitimately does this. Like, and you can't say that, you know, sort of, oh, well, just don't participate in social media, because social media is an integral part of being a young person at the moment. You have to be. It's kind of like businesses. Yeah, businesses now have to engage with social media. Celebrities have to engage with social media. People have to engage. You have to have a social media presence. You can't just be a celebrity and not have a social media presence. It's the same thing. You can't be a teenager and not have a social media presence. Not and sort of be acceptable to your peers.
No, and you to be invited to parties, for example, you need to have a social media account usually because events are made on things like Facebook, which is where things like that are organized now. It's
bizarrely where a great deal of information is communicated, social information is communicated, and things like that, rather than in person, which is strange for me to think about. But I was sort of thinking about this, and I was thinking, for most teenagers, the first thing they do when they wake up in the morning is check their phone, check their social media accounts. The last thing they do before they go to sleep at night is check their social media accounts. And you have to have a presence. You have to be posting stuff. It's not good enough to just sort of be there. You have to be posting, and you have to actively be engaging, and you have to be living this life where there's enough stuff that you can post on social media being, hey, look at this is cool, hey, look at me doing this, hey, look at this food, hey, look at this. What a hell of a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And you combine that with the fact that when you're a teenager, some of you who listen to this podcast are teenagers. Some of you have been teenagers at one point in your life. You feel things more deeply as a teenager than you ever will at any other point in your life.
Yeah.
And this is why the music that we listen to when we're teenagers, this is why the people that we fall in love with, this is why the films that we watch or things like that, we spend the rest of our lives almost trying to recapture that feeling, what it was like to be a teenager, what it was like to feel that passionately about stuff.
That's perfectly encapsulated in one of my favorite lyrics from a song, LCD Sound System. It says, sound of silver talk to me, makes me want to feel like a teenager until you remember the feelings of an emotional teenager, then you think again. And that's it. Really, it's your whole life trying to recapture the feelings of a teenager.
Yeah.
Then you think, actually, remembering what it feels like.
Yeah, it's one of those nostalgia things which we've also talked about in the past, where the thought of it is actually better than what the reality was of being a teenager.
Yeah.
But I sort of think, you open yourself up all the time to scrutiny. All the time on social media. And young people are sort of pushed into doing this. More and more and more and more. And I sit there and I go, I wouldn't want to be a teenager now.
No.
Absolutely wouldn't. Hands down wouldn't. And the reason I wanted to talk about this, and I'm sure this is sort of self-evident for a lot of you. I'm sure I'm not breaking any amazing new ground. But what struck me the other day, and sort of the reason I wanted to talk a bit about this, and I wanted to sort of get your feelings on this, is that I think that there is a fundamental disconnect between adults and teenagers. How adults, not all adults, but how adults generally tend to perceive teenagers is as being lazy, disengaged, entitled, all of those kinds of things. And I really, really think that's not the case. If I honestly look back, and one of the things that sparked this was I found an old exam of mine from bursary English in the year 2000. So for those of you that didn't do school CM bursary, that's level 3 NCA, so year 13. My exam at the end of the year, and I found that, and I read it, and I went, man, this is rubbish. And I was quite good at English.
A+ for honesty. But...
Yeah. I was quite good at English. I did well at English. I think I got a B or something for it, B+ or something like that for it. Which again, for those of you playing at home, would be a high merit, low excellence. And I sit there and I go, probably wouldn't pass level 3 now. Wouldn't even get an achieve. And so we can categorically say that the amount of work we expect from teenagers, the quality of work we expect from teenagers, is far higher.
Yeah.
And this is one of those prevalent myths, is that the standard of work that teenagers do at school is less than we used to do back when I was at school. We did all this rubbish. If you look at the work that teenagers do at school, it's far more complex than anything you did in high school. Guaranteed.
It's classic. My generation had, a way harder time.
Oh,
than your
we
generation.
worked way harder. We trekked 6 miles in the snow to get to school in Hawke's Bay. Every day to get to school with no shoes on, and all of that sort of stuff. No, kids work way harder. Kids work way harder. But not only do they work way harder at school, and I sort of sit there and I go, I'm knackered whenever I finish a school day. And I sit there and I go, I teach 2 subjects. So I've only got to get my brain around 2 subjects. I've only got to get my brain around social studies and music. Kids every day have to get their brain around 5 different subjects. And I know that doesn't sound like much, but if you think about the way you think about science and the terminology that you use and everything else like that is completely different to the way you think about music, or the way you think about English, or the way you think about social studies, or the way you think about maths, or the way they're completely different ways of using your brain. So you have to change the way your brain works 5 times a day. Not only that, but then you don't even get to go home and just take a break. Majority of those kids then go and work a job. Or they go home and they have to be on social media,
Homework,
pushing their brand, pushing their image. And this is the thing. We have kids now who are brands.
Yeah, it's...
And that's what their personality is. It's a brand. It's a brand in the same way that Coca-Cola is a brand. It's a brand in the same way that McDonald's is a brand. It's a brand.
There's this weird celebration of brands. Like, there's this, and I think especially with social media, there's been this new sort of obsession with great branding and great PR and things, which, 10, 15 years ago, people would have sort of laughed at, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea of we get advertised to every single day, and we get advertised to through apps on our phones, which and especially with social media, somewhat maliciously notify you of. They purposely go out of their way to make sure that they're as entrenched and as intrusive in your lives as possible. They are designed to do that, and we now sort of celebrate or encourage that creation of the brand, and it's crazy.
It just made me laugh. It just reminded me of a story that I heard on the Triple Jump podcast, where they were talking about the way obviously on social media that your advertising on your social media, for those of you that don't know, although you should know, is that the advertising and stuff that you get on your social media is based on your browsing habits. So whatever you're looking at, that sort of stuff. And they were talking about reading a story about somebody who was on a Christian website and was like, this is terrible. All of these gay porn ads that are coming up on this Christian web, on this Christian web server is horrible. You should be looking at this. And they were like, actually, your advertising is based on your personal browsing habits. It's not like, it's just filler space for adverts based on what you look at online.
Yeah, it tracks you through. And you'll actually find a lot of web browsers are actively pushing against tracking, so cookies and things. I think the new Safari update.
Like,
it's
amazing. Like, honestly, like the most. I know this is slightly tangential, but the most aware I became of this, I think, was when my last relationship ended, and I noticed overnight a fundamental change in the advertising I was getting online.
Yeah,
like it was insane. So my advertising, I'd been with my then girlfriend for 2 years, pretty much 2 years. And so all the advertising I was getting online was about engagement rings, wedding dresses, honeymoon places, all of that sort of stuff. I'm actually not joking. The next day, all of my advertising online changed and it all changed to like advertising singles in your local area, Twitter, Tinder, you know, best places to go whenever you're alone, and all of this sort of stuff. And I was like, it was the most aware that I was, like, I mean, I'd always been sort of intellectually aware that that's sort of what happened, but it was all of a sudden it was kind of thrown in my face that actually this happens, like this really is, it really does happen,
and very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. But coming back to, like, I mean, for God's sake, Google apparently knew before, like, lots of other people who are actually in my life knew, which is really bizarre. But again, coming back to teenagers, they are brands. Their personality is a brand. Like, we as a society have placed them in a situation and given them the tools and given them the freedom and pushed them into a position where their personality is as marketed as a product. Where they, I feel, a lot of them have a disconnect with who they actually are because they don't know. Because they're a brand, because they're a product that they're trying to sell. And they do that, through YouTube, through Twitter, through Instagram, through Facebook, through all of those social medias. They do that. They're like, I am a product that I'm trying to sell. How do I... Because what we do, and we know this, and especially as teenagers, we look at what's successful. What's successful? What works? What gets the most likes? What moves me to the top of that pile? Photos about this, stories about that, whatever. And so they market themselves. They become a commodity.
So the consequence of this as well, following on from that. So this always deserves to be repeated. You see the best of everyone's lives on social media.
Oh, absolutely.
So what ends up happening, and because you're, the product, you see the best aspects of these people's lives. So of course, whenever you go on social media, be it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, you see all these people having amazing lives. You don't see the bad stuff. And therefore, you then feel in yourself possibly inadequate or insecure, or, oh wow, I'm not swimming with whales in Tahiti, therefore I'm not living my best life, kind of thing, and which then leads to a feedback loop of you may become depressed. You may then work on your brand. And then you end up uploading the best aspects of your life.
So I'm going to use, for those of you at home watching on the YouTube, this is the best way to see this, because I'm actually going to use our 3 shelves here to show you what Anthony means. So if you're not watching this on YouTube, get onto YouTube and watch what we're talking about. So what happens is everybody's life is actually generally ticking along in this middle shelf, right? That's kind of where people's lives are.
A little bit like the album In Rainbows by Radiohead.
Yes,
you're happy sometimes, but you're sad a lot of the other. You're happy like in 15 Step, but you can be really sad like in Videotape.
Yeah, there you go. So what happens is we sit there and everybody's sort of ticking along at this level, right? But because everybody's ticking along at this level, that's not what I'm going to post on social media. No. Because that makes no sense, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a specific aspect of my life. Let's say it's my job, right? I'm going to take my job and I'm going to post stuff on social media and I'm going to doctor it in a way that it looks like it's here. Right? So I'm going, love my job, so privileged to do this, blah, 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 blah. Looks like it's here, right? Okay. I really am sort of like hear about it. I enjoy it, but like, I'm posting and making it look like it's here. Somebody else who's having a rubbish time in their job or is struggling a little bit in their job, again, their job is in and around here. But what they see is this, so they go, man, my life is shit, and they feel there.
They feel like the album Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic by Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah,
a
pretty
bit
much.
like the song Under
Actually,
the Bridge, really.
Yeah, there you go.
Really-
Love it. So,
Glad we
so
managed to
this
bring
is
the
what
records
happened.
in.
The problem is that social media exists here on this level because you get a constant stream of it. If you go through Facebook, every different person's posting about different shit, right? So somebody might be sitting there going, Anthony's posting about how marvelous his relationship is. I'm posting about how wonderful my job is. You know, Jemima's posting about how fantastic her holiday in Tahiti is, and you know, and so on and so on and so on. And all you're doing is you're seeing all of this stuff that exists up here, and you go, man, my life's not like that. Look at all those people that have got their lives together and are living these wonderful lives. And so instead of actually going, actually my life's here, it has the opposite effect, and everybody goes, actually my life is so much worse than everybody else. My life is horrific. And you know, and we sit there and go, we have so many problems and so many concerns with teenagers and emotional well-being, and it's compounded. Adults, it's compounded by adults who constantly, when talking to or about teenagers, sit there and go, they're so lazy and entitled. They're, they don't work as hard as we used to whenever we were kids. They've got it all too easy now, and they just, they just want everything, and they're,
I want these people as well,
lazy,
who say this, to look back to when they were in high school. And I know for an absolute fact, that the push now for kids to be good enough to get to university is much higher than it ever was decades ago. The pushing of kids going to university.
Schools are
pushing it.
Actually, no, it's not that.
Oh, really? Is it going the other way now?
No. Okay, so here's the reasoning, right? Because people at home go, education, right? Education. How do we measure the success of education? How do we measure whether a school is a good school or a bad school? Well, we can't measure the fact that, or it's difficult to measure the fact, or it's difficult to measure the impact that educational schooling has on a student, on their well-being, on their holistic well-being, on how well a school prepares them for whatever it is they want to do, right? It's difficult to measure that. What we can measure is exam results, right? So schools are measured on how many kids we get through university entrance.
Yeah.
Level 3 and university entrance. So the pressure that's put on schools by the statistics that are reported is to push kids through university entrance, to get them to the point where they can go to university. Now, on the surface of it, people might be listening to this and going, well, yeah, that makes sense. Like, that's, that's a good thing. But there are, seriously, does everybody need to go to university? No. Why the hell do you need to go to university? If you want a career in something that is
the trades,
academically based, then sure, go to university. But, if you want to be a builder, a mechanic, a plumber, anything like that, you don't need to go to university. What the hell do you need to go to university for?
We have a huge shortage of tradesmen in New Zealand.
Yep. There's
Huge
so much work to be done, so much, but that's how the success of education is measured. We get forced to push kids through university entrance courses and all of this sort of stuff, when those kids have no desire to go there or do that. Why aren't we, going, hey, look, you want to do this? That's awesome. You want to be a builder. Cool. You want to be a mechanic. You want to be a plumber. You want to do, those. And again, we've got to get out of this habit of going, the best educational outcome. And again, I'd like to say, this is largely not teachers. So teachers don't do this. This is people who don't work in education sitting there going, every kid should be going to... No, they shouldn't. Teachers will be the first people to say to you, no, there are kids who come into school and actually success for them, and it is legitimate success, is going out there going, I left school at 15, went and became a builder.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Legitimate success. They got everything they needed from high school, got everything they needed from the schooling system to go out and be able to do that. That's success. And I can tell you what, probably makes twice as much a year as I do being a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah? Like that is legitimate success. And it is great success. And we've got to get out of our heads, and people around have got to get out of their heads that in some ways the trades is a second option or a lesser option than going to university. It isn't. It's a different pathway. It is just as legitimate. It's just as hard, because I can tell you what, I've got postgraduate diplomas. I couldn't build you a bloody house, to save my, well, I could, it'd just fall to bits on you. But these are skills that we need, and slightly tangential, but
but no, that's
but we have to be so careful, and I guess my overarching point is that we need to remember that teenagers are people. And we need to remember that teenagers... Right, we know that teenagers, their brains don't work. We know that. They're closed for construction. They're literally building, they're still finding... they've got all the basics. They know how to speak. They know how to move. They know how to do all of that sort of stuff. They learnt that as kids, right? They're now trying to find who they are in this big, giant world, in this insanely quickly changing society that we live in at the moment. And I guess what I'm saying is that we need to be really careful that we allow teenagers, or we encourage teenagers, to find who they are themselves, rather than ragging on them because they're young, or before we lose a whole generation of teenagers who've become products. We have we have literally achieved the absolute apogee of capitalism. We have now managed to commodify the one thing that we shouldn't have, which is a generation of kids are now a commodity. And that makes me sad.
Yeah, me too. Think about that next time your kids watch Logan Paul.
Or next time you tell them they're lazy, or back in your day you did this or that, We've commodified a generation of kids.
Try to remember what it was like to be a teenager, and try to remember the social pressures that existed. Because we've invented lots of new ones.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, but the other thing I would say, this is and producer Caroline actually wanted me to bring this up, and I think this is really cool, is Jamila Jamil from The Good Place. If any of you have ever seen The Good Place, we love The Good Place. Great TV show. Has an Instagram account called I Weigh. I_Weigh, WEIGH, as in how much I weigh. And this is an awesome kind of account, and what it does is it encourages people to post how much they weigh. Not in like a kg kind of sense, like how much you weigh, but how much you weigh as a person, with all the things that you are and you do and that sort of thing. And I think that's a really kind of cool idea.
It is.
Remembering what makes you unique, not in a marketing sense, not in a product sense, but in a, actually this is what I'm worth. This is, how much I weigh. And it's funny, and we'll talk about this a little bit in the next segment, but it's funny, I think it's really interesting how we have this really big disjunct. We have this really big disjunct between older generations, who the catch cry at the moment seems to be young people are entitled. They're arrogant and entitled and, all of that sort of stuff. And at the same time, young people who are going, and we know this statistically, who are increasingly suffering from depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, a lack of purpose, direction, self-awareness, those sorts of things. So one lot of people is busy going, you are the most arrogant, entitled, and self-centered people on the planet, and at the same time those people are turning around and going, we have no idea who we are, what's happening, where I'm supposed to be, what my place in society is, all those sorts of things. I think it's this amazing disjunct. We talk about the gap between rich and poor. I think that at the moment in our society there's a much bigger gap between old and young. And I think it's going to be a far more damaging gap in society. Far more damaging gap than rich and poor.
Stop punching down.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
I think that probably says everything we need to say.
Yeah.
After our really funny out there, episode last week. This is a really serious,
bring us all back down.
Bring us all back down to earth. Okay, so moving on to our second section, on to Uncanny Valley. And I've got a good article for you this time. And it kind of ties a little bit into what we were talking about in the first section. And I know it's going to trigger you, Anthony, which is why I think it's funny. So this is an article from the New Zealand Herald. So there you go, the New Zealand Herald giving what do you call it? Print space to really valuable conversation topics.
Objective journalism.
So this is in the business section. So not even an opinion section. This is the business section. So it's a legitimate article. This is the Muffin Break boss, Natalie Brennan slams entitled millennials.
Yeah, that's topical.
Yeah, Muffin Break, that paragon of
Muffin Break. What is that? Is that like a cafe that sells muffins or something? Is it a chain?
Have you never been to a Muffin Break? So a Muffin Break is a chain that does muffins, funnily enough, and the worst coffee you've ever drunk in your life, short of a McDonald's coffee.
Well, I'm glad I haven't gone then.
And what do you call it? They do muffins, and muffins look amazing.
Yeah.
That's about as much as I can say about their muffins. I remember talking to somebody about there was one just outside a place that I worked, a Muffin Break. The muffins all taste like Play-Doh. Like, they all kind of taste a little bit like Play-Doh. But they're big in like malls and stuff like that. They tend to be like small, like pop-up little stores. They very rarely, there are a couple of like big cafe ones, but they generally tend to be like a stand at a mall somewhere that you can get like a muffin and a coffee and that sort of stuff for an arm and half a leg. Anyway, so here's it. It begins well. Entitled millennials have been given an inflated sense of self-importance due to social media and are no longer willing to do unpaid work to advance their careers. That's the view of Muffin Break General Manager Natalie Brennan, who's obviously definitely on minimum wage, who says the precipitous decline in eager young university students and graduates started about 10 years ago. So here's what I love, right? Is that okay, before we even go any further into this, right? This woman is having a bitch because, let's not forget, this is the CEO of a company, is having a bitch about
the CEO of
Muffin Break boss, so I'm assuming she's the CEO. Yep, she's Muffin Break General Manager.
Oh, so
yep.
she
So she's
GM
high up in the company.
Yeah.
Is having a bitch because people who've legitimately gone to university and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars getting qualified, because we've told them that that's what they have to do, won't come and work for her muffin business for free. Do you know the Muffin Man?
Oh my god. Wow.
Yes. So all these eager young university students and, qualified people will not come and work for her business for nothing. There's just nobody walking in my door asking for an internship, work experience, or unpaid work anymore.
Internship, by the way, is unpaid. It's where you do work for free.
Yeah. It's where a business pretends they're actually helping you by giving you unpaid work.
Yeah.
You don't see it anymore. Before that, people would be knocking on your door all the time. You couldn't keep up with how many people wanted to be working. In fact, I'd run programs because there were so many coming in. Last year, she had one intern in marketing, and that was it. I can't even remember the one before that, 6, 7, 8 years ago, she says. In essence, they're working for free, But I can tell you, every single person who has knocked on my door for an internship or work experience has ended up in a job. Every single person, because they back themselves. Now,
Wait,
Now. This is gonna get even better. This is gonna get even better because I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe, these people who come in for internships and work experience working for her in this, selling muffins. What do you call it? Oh, okay, so they've all gone on to jobs. But it gets better in a minute, right? Brennan, who has been with franchise giant Foodco for 18 years, says that kind of passion is lacking these days. People just won't work for free anymore.
People just aren't passionate enough about...
One fellow I hired, he was underqualified, completely not the right person, but he rang me every 2 weeks for 6 months, she said. He said, I will do anything. I'll start at the ground level. After 6 months, I hired him because you can't teach that passion and enthusiasm. He worked for 5 or 6 years and moved on to a higher role in another company. These days, she notices, candidates often walk into interviews thinking they're better than the job. You sell fucking muffins. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm a university graduate who's gone to university. I've got a I've literally become a master in my field. And you're like, you're not too good to sell muffins. I'm like, but I am, though. I'm sorry.
And can I just say also, calling someone every 2 weeks for 6 months, that doesn't make you passionate or ambitious. That makes you a stalker.
Yeah.
That makes you...
Yep. They think they're better
A
than
pest.
they think they're better than the job. Immediately asking, how long before I get my promotion? When is the first pay rise? Now, I actually want to put a side note in there.
Yeah.
Obviously, at school, we have a trades academy and things like that,
Yeah.
where kids go out and they get work experience and things like that. Generally, the feedback that we get about kids going out into the workplace is that they're incredibly hardworking. They're incredibly passionate about what they do. And in fact, we end up with far more problems where kids actually don't realize their rights when it comes to that sort of thing. And sometimes they're being underpaid. But generally, bosses and things like that are like, no, we want to give them pay rises. We want it because they're actually working really well. In one case, after she ended the interview early, the candidate sent me an abusive email saying I was underpaying, but then said, if you pay X amount more, I'll come and work for you. It's called negotiation.
Yeah.
People are clueless, she said. Not only am I not going to hire you, I will tell everybody about you as well, which I would like to say is illegal. No,
it is illegal.
It is illegal. You
can't badmouth
You cannot actively go out of your way from a position of power to stop somebody getting a job somewhere else. It's why you can't, funnily enough, it's why in references you can't actually give people horrific references because you can't actively prevent somebody from getting another job. So what she's saying is that if I don't like you, I am going to go and tell everybody about you so that no one will employ you.
What was her name again?
Brennan. I'll have to scroll back up. Natalie Brennan.
Natalie Brennan.
I've got to find my place again.
Thoroughly
she sounds, whatever... not only am I not going to hire you, I'll tell everybody about you. That's the thing people don't realize. Whatever industry you're in, it's a small industry. So she's going to go out of her way to stop you from working in the industry because she doesn't like you.
You won't get another job at a muffin.
Brennan says there's an unreal view that you're going to come into a company and be the general manager or CEO in 5 years. No, there isn't.
No,
and can I say also too that on that flip side, I hate that question, and you get asked it all the time in interviews. And here's the thing, right? Is generally, and I'm not slagging people off. I've worked in retail and things like that for years and years and years and years. Generally, people who are giving interviews or doing interviews are not actually trained interviewers. They have no idea. They've picked up stuff that they've told, here's a good question. The question, where do you see yourself in 5 years, is the dumbest question out there. And here's the reason it's the dumbest question. One, nobody has any clue where they're going to be in 5 years. I can tell you that my life has undergone seismic shifts in the course of like a year, 2 years. Nobody has any clue where they see themselves in 5 years. Especially not if you're going to go and work for Muffin Break. Because I guarantee you that if you're going to work for a minimum wage job doing something in 5 years, you don't see yourself working minimum wage in the same place. I don't think that... But it becomes a game of guess what's in my head. Right? If you overinflate where you see yourself in 5 years, they go, I don't like you. I'm not going to employ you.
You have too much ambition.
You have too much ambition. If you undersell it, then they're like, no passion, no drive for this business, therefore we're not going to employ. It's the dumbest. It's literally a game of Guess what I want you to say,
Yeah.
because this is what's in my head. Nowadays, I will often put the actual pay on the job listing and say this is not negotiable. You should have been doing that from the fucking beginning.
Yeah.
Because you have a budget for a role. And I agree with that. If you are hiring a staff member to work in your muffin break store, I guarantee you that you have a salary range or a price range for what you're looking for. Put
That's
it on
fine.
there.
Put it on there. Be transparent.
And then you won't get people who are applying for. You won't get university graduates applying, but yes, there might be $2,000, $3,000, $500, $5,000 flex for the right person. That's not what she said before. But generally, it doesn't matter. If an amazing person comes in and you're hiring for a junior role, you only have a junior role pay. Yep, absolutely. But there are still people out there who come in and say, I'm willing to work for junior wages and show what I'm worth. Yes, there are. There are still people who are willing to do that. There are also people who think that people should work for free. Yep. Brennan blames social media for the entitlement mentality. Yep, it's all social media's fault.
Social media.
I think everybody thinks social media is going to get them ahead somehow, she says. There's definitely that inflated view of their self-importance because they have X amount of Instagram followers or this many likes. That's dangerous. And that flows through into performance management. It's like, I'm your manager and your mentor, but not your cheerleader. Sounds like a pleasant person to work for. Even giving people constructive criticism about how they can learn or improve, it's like someone is unfriending them. It's like a personal attack. This ability to learn and grow through working in an environment, people just don't want to do it anymore. She feels young people want to be applauded or named staff member of the month for doing their job. Great, you did your job, so you get to keep your job, she said. I'm generalizing.
Wow, that's
But
great.
it definitely feels like this generation of 20-somethings has to be rewarded, even if it's the most mundane, boring thing. They want to be rewarded for doing their job consistently. Brennan recalls how, after she went overseas to a conference for 2 weeks, one of her subordinates demanded a pay rise for looking after the department while she was gone.
Wait, for how long?
2 weeks. I said, actually, you don't. I wasn't on leave. You had maybe an extra 10 emails to deal with for 2 weeks. That was part of your job. If you had solved this problem or saved us money, that's a thing to bring to me. She sounds like
Oh, wow.
she sounds like a so
Nice.
number one, if she could go on leave for 2 weeks and there's nothing else to do in her job except for answer 10 emails,
Yeah,
then,
exactly.
then
Yeah.
Miss Brennan or Mrs. Brennan, I don't know, you might be Mrs. Brennan or Miss Brennan, you are ripping off the company. The company is paying you way too much money if all you are doing is answering 10 emails. Yes, if somebody takes on extra responsibilities, funnily enough, they should be paid for it. I don't see a problem with that.
No,
I'm sorry.
no.
This entitlement, God forbid people want to be paid for the work they do.
But how entitled do you have to be to expect people to work for you for free?
yeah,
That's crazy.
I'm a manager.
Is she working for free?
You should come and work for me for free to get ahead. Why? In a labour
Exposure
market,
and
in a labour
experience.
market where we have 4% unemployment, where you know basically look in any job market you are never going to have 0% unemployment, and you're never going to have 0% unemployment because there are always people who can't work, who are within the statistical ages of working, that sort of thing, who can't work, between jobs, that sort of thing. So you're never going to have 0% unemployment. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the OECD. Yeah. We are literally importing people to come and do the jobs that we need to do. Ms. Brennan, it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
If people can walk into jobs and say, no, I want to be paid this amount of money, supply and demand. You need those people to come and work for you. I mean, how entitled do you have to be to turn around and go, people won't come and work for me for nothing anymore? How, ever since slavery, we've had this, the abolishment of slavery, we've had this real problem in getting people to come and work for nothing. And it really upsets me.
People,
really?
I mean, I think this boils down to the fact that people don't want to work for you because you sound like a horrible person.
Well, she does sound like a lovely person to work for, doesn't she?
She does.
It's like, you did your job.
I
Well
mean-
done. You get to keep your job. She sounds like an awesome person.
Not even a thanks. Like, thanks, you did really well while I was
Yeah,
away.
she sounds-
I can't really afford to give you a pay rise, but you did really well, and keep at it and da da.
Yeah.
Instead, it's this ultra defensive.
Well, you only had to answer like 10 emails, so
Yeah.
if you'd actually done something of any worth, then
Yeah.
we would have paid you more. She sounds like a really pleasant person to work for. Yeah.
And the thing is, as well, I mean, unpaid work. I mean, I remember, I've paid for a lot of things using experience and exposure.
Have you?
Yeah,
That's
like
good, yeah.
like food.
Yep. Did you get your plumber in to fix
I
your
did,
sink
yeah.
and paid him?
The plumber we paid in
exposures?
7.5 exposures.
Yep.
Because my
One medium exposure. Yeah.
my background's in graphic design, and graphic design's a particular shocker for this. So, and any graphic designers out there will know this. It's a shocking industry for. Can you do this work for exposure? It's shocking. And I've been on the other end of this a lot throughout my life, and it's insane the amount of people who do offer that, and sincerely too, and with no sort of hint of
why
irony.
wouldn't you want to do it for exposure?
I want to give up
But
hours of my time.
It's the same again. Being a musician, we get exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
We'd like you to come and play at our wedding for 6 hours. Oh, okay. Well, that's going to cost you X amount of money. It'll be good exposure for you. Will it?
To do what?
More Karen, that's right, Karen. Your family's so influential within the music industry that me coming and playing for you for free for 6 hours is going to, take off my, my music career because your dad, the mechanic, is in with, RCA Records and it's going to get me a record deal.
Mike Myers from EMI Records comes in.
Yes, yeah.
It's them.
Yes, it's the violinist I've heard so much about. I'll get exposure. Exposure to who?
And
your family?
And more exposure to do what? More shows that
for
will
free?
pay in exposure?
Yeah.
And if you don't, this is one of the biggest rules in business. If you do not put a monetary price on what you do in the creative arts, your work will not be valued.
So my mother gave me one of the best pieces of advice I've ever had. And my mother said to me, if you're ever doing work in the creative field and that sort of stuff, or you're ever doing that sort of thing, charge your full whack or charge nothing at all. Never discount your price. So go, this is what I'm worth. This is what you pay me. Or you go, actually, I think that this is worth doing for nothing, and I'll come along and I'll do this for nothing for you. Never go, because it does. Because in the creative arts, you're exactly right. People attach a review, or they attach a importance to the amount that you charge them.
Yeah.
If I turned around and I designed this lovely In Rainbows Radiohead cover, and I did it for $0, for exposures, people would go, oh, well, it's not worth anything.
Yeah.
You just threw something together and it's fine. If I turned around and said, I'm going to charge you $65,000 for me to design that, people go, Jesus, that design's worth $65,000. Same design. Yeah. And it's the same with music. Like, right. I love that. We'll pay you an exposure. Maybe that's what she's doing in the small industry that she works with. I mean, she sounds like an incredibly pleasant person. Either, you come and work for me for free, or I will ruin your chances of ever working in this industry again. She sounds like a lovely person.
She does.
And
thank you, by the way, NZ Herald, for giving her a platform. That's great.
All these 20-something-year-olds, not even in an opinion piece.
No.
In the business section of
a legitimate
article, sort of...
representative of NZ Herald's views, by the way, because it's not an opinion piece.
No.
Because every news website will state rightly that an opinion piece doesn't necessarily reflect the views of. So in that same mold, NZ Herald posting that as a legitimate article in the business section.
So come on, NZ.
If it's fact.
So then, come on, NZ Herald. We'll call you out. If you have published this and you at least nominally agree with it. So are you going to come out and go on record and say that 20-something-year-olds who are university graduates and things like that should be working for free?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? You're saying that they're entitled and no longer willing to work in this country for free, and that is the opinion of the NZ Herald.
I mean, to be fair, this is the same news organisation that said the reason we can't afford homes is because we have too much smashed avocado on toast.
Yeah, no, but I want them to come out and say, yes, no, we legitimately agree that people who've gone to university, who are servicing student loans, who are qualified in their industries, should be going and working for places like Muffin Break for free.
New Zealand Herald, Esoterica podcast, are officially calling you out. We're officially calling you out. Right here, right now, we are calling you out on the above charges.
Yep. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
I'd like a
Calling you
response.
out.
It'd be great.
I
I'd
would
love
too.
a response.
I'd love to know.
Because I'd love to know how I'm going to pay my rent, which is, the highest, we live in the most expensive rental market that, comparative to wages that it has ever been here in New Zealand. I'd love to know how I'm going to pay my rent, how I'm going to keep up my addictions like, eating,
or my addiction,
paying my power,
my addiction to shelter,
my addiction to being clothed in public,
and warm,
and warm and healthy. Seeing as the government is coming out and saying houses in New Zealand are criminally under-maintained, and that sort of stuff. I'd like to know how you suggest that taking on unpaid work is going to help me to do that
while paying off a student loan.
While paying off my student loan, which you will all bitch about if I don't pay off.
Yeah.
With my exposures. So if I
it's less money to go towards
if I come in and I go to the government, NZ Herald, and I go to them and I say, I would like to pay off my student loan, please. Here's the 7 exposures I've made this week. Do you think they'll accept that? Do you think the bank will accept my 7 exposures as a deposit?
Well, they should.
For a loan.
It's a legitimate.
Yeah. Or my landlord will be like, oh, well, that's all right. You've paid me 6 exposures this week. You can continue to live in your house.
It's been a long time since I've seen a major news source in New Zealand have such an obvious demographic.
Yeah.
Like an obvious target demographic. And I don't know what NZ Herald are well, no, we do know what NZ Herald are going for. They're going for the outraged older generation.
Oh,
and by the way, I don't want to generalize. I'm not saying all old people are
and I'm sorry, but Muffin Break is a company. How can you stand by this
and go?
We're disgusted that people no longer will come and work for free.
They're a chain franchise, which implies that they have multiple stores, which implies they are successful enough to run multiple stores.
Wants people to work for free.
Well, that's right. Which implies they must have the money to pay people.
But people just won't come and work for free.
I'm sorry, if you're running a business and you can't afford to pay people, then you shouldn't be running a business.
Yeah, but the other thing is,
Sorry.
look, to be fair, Anthony, whenever I was a young lad and I was growing up and spending all my time at school and furthering my education, I thought, you know what I want to do when I grow older? I want to sell muffins.
Yeah.
That's it. It's my dream. I want to sell muffins.
Yeah,
I'll go and get a music degree and a history degree, but I'll sell muffins. That's
the end goal.
That's what I want to do. That's my own end goal. Like, I'm sorry, but people deserve to be paid for the work they do. I don't care how much experience they do or don't have. If you are prepared to take them on in a role, you pay them.
Or don't take them on.
And I'm sorry, if you are expecting them to create stuff for you, you are expecting them to abide by the rules that you place on all your employees. You're expecting them to all intensive purposes, to be a staff member of your company. Pay them. Yeah. I cannot honestly believe that we are sitting here in 2019 going, big companies in New Zealand should pay their staff.
It's pushback, isn't it? It's pushback. It's pushback because of all the negative attention surrounding how expensive it is to live now. It's things like capital gains tax. It's this huge divide in living and what people are earning. There's a huge gap, a wage gap. And this is it. It's pushback from the other side about the wage gap. Oh, they're complaining about how little they're paid. Well, we're going to push back in the other direction. And that's all it is. And it's pathetic.
Well, there you go.
And NZ Herald, you need to answer this.
NZ Herald, we look forward to
We are calling you out.
We look forward to your response. And Muffin Break, we look forward to your response.
And I hope your response is better cited than the article that you published that we just read.
I hope your response is an abject retraction and apology for,
rubbish.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Light-hearted segment.
It does.
It's been one of those weeks.
But it does particularly,
Yeah. But that's all right. We're moving into our favourite section now. We're moving into 30-second waffle.
30-second waffle.
And there have been more 30-second waffle bits and pieces brought to us by Discord and places like that. So remember, if you are wanting Anthony and I are to answer any questions in this section. Get your questions up there on the Discord under the 30-second waffle place. Neither Anthony and I can see it, only producer Caroline can see that particular thing, and she'll get them written down and get them into our little containers so that they'll get hopefully pulled out and answered at some point on the podcast. So get on there. There's been a few more up this week, which has been awesome. It's great to see that. If you're not on the Discord, just on that note, if you're not on the Discord, please jump on the Discord. It's the best way of us, or you communicating with us communicating with you. It's a cool little community on there. Lots of fun and exciting things going on in Discord. Anthony, myself, and producer Caroline are pretty active on Discord, so you'll be hearing from us and you'll be hearing from other really great members of our community all the time. So jump on there. It's a free app. It's it's a cool
great
place.
app too.
It's a great app.
Really
it's a
well
cool
made.
little place to be. So come and join us at Esoterica on the Discord. Right. Okay. So I went first last week. So it's your turn.
Okay.
Dun dun dun.
Upstage hand.
Director versus actor.
Oh, what's this?
Oh, hang on. You've got two there.
Oh, okay.
All right. There
Sorry.
we go.
Okay. Oh. This is like wrapped up like a present.
It is. You have to get to the bottom of the present.
Okay. Okay.
Ooh.
Ant. This is from Discord. This is from Love You Ant. Heart emoji. Oh my goodness.
This is
really
like a
wrapped
multiple
up.
part question. Jesus.
Um,
Holy. All right. Okay.
I now ask
So,
our
yeah.
listeners and viewers to just get comfortable because this is a long question. This is a very long
It's
question.
quite long.
Okay, so I
Is
think
that double-sided?
Yeah, so I start from this. Okay.
Oh,
here
yeah.
we go.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Okay. In the Minions movie, okay, this is interesting. Okay, so in the Minions movie, they changed the canon regarding the Minions' creation. Previously created by Gru, but are weird, immoral beings, flocking to the most evil person, but judged by an omnipresent being. Is that best judged by an omnipresent being? Are minions the one true God?
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Also, what are the implications of them always working for the most evil person? Does this mean that they are responsible for the Holocaust? Yeah, because I did sort of... Yeah. Okay.
It's quite a long question to answer in 30 seconds. Are the minions really the one true God?
I think that the fact that minions flock to the most evil people in existence means that they must be omnipresent in some way, because they have this magnetic sort of gravitational pull towards the worst people in existence, including Hitler, Pol Pot, Genghis Khan probably. So yes, they actually do represent evil at its purest, because people that stand by and help and watch from the sidelines of evil people are just as bad as evil people, if not worse, because they're a part of that. They help perpetuate that evilness. Minions are awful. They're awful, aren't they?
I love that you continue to get minions questions. This is making my life. Do you know where I thought you were going to go with that? Is if they assist evil people in doing evil, and they're theoretically omnipotent, in that they have some form of omnipotent kind
So are they
of
a god?
idea. Well, that would theoretically make them the devil, wouldn't it? Because they assist people in doing the evil, the evil things they could. It would essentially make minions the personification of the devil.
Of the devil. Of like multiple devils.
You heard it here first. Minions are the personification of Satan.
You all think they're just a fun... I don't know.
See, you thought that Beelzebub was red with horns. Apparently not. Apparently, it looks like a yellow Tic Tac with overalls on. Yeah.
Well,
All right.
it's what they say. The devil will come down looking like the...
Well, wasn't it? Isn't
it?
it according to the Bible? He will come and he will be in a most pleasing form or whatever to mankind. All right. This is for me. This is from Simbreezy.
Yeah.
I'm worried about this one. What?
Do you want me to read it?
I can't even read this.
Yeah, no. Do you want me to read it? Yeah.
Yes, producer's Caroline's
Caroline's
handwriting.
got doctor handwriting.
Is it a...
Is a double clown... is a double down more or less healthy than a Big
Mac? Okay.
Big Mac?
Is a double down more or less healthy than a Big Mac? I don't know that I'm qualified to answer this question.
Well, think about it.
A double down is obviously far more healthy than a Big Mac. And the reason that a double down is far more healthy than a Big Mac is a double down contains so much protein. It would literally give you all of the protein that you need for your week's worth of entertainment. However, a Big Mac, on the other hand, is, as we know, edible cardboard. There is no nutritional benefit at all to a Big Mac. In fact, you'd have more nutritional benefit in eating the cardboard box than the Big Mac.
Nice. It was good. It was really good. I'm impressed by it. That's good.
McDonald's will be sponsoring us any moment now.
Yeah, I know.
So come on, KFC. Come on, KFC. We need
Who's
some
off
double...
our sponsors
We need
list? So
some
we've
double
got
down...
probably Staff, NZ Herald, McDonald's.
Muffin break.
Well, good riddance. They'd want us to work for them for free if they were going to sponsor us.
Look,
Come work
I
for us
am
for
sure
free.
that Stoke Independent Breweries doesn't have unpaid people working for them. Yeah. Creating a fine,
exactly.
handcrafted beer.
Yeah.
Right. Upstage hand, see.
I think my answer,
I remember my stage
My
directions.
answer was less words than that question.
Wouldn't be hard.
So this is for me a Discord from Simbreezy. So this
Sim's coming through.
Sim's coming through a bit.
Loud and strong.
Guys, can we please get a new thing? I have way more annoyances than minions. I do. There's more to my life than minions.
Old people, the idle rich, popular music,
There's so many things that annoy me.
pop culture. Just just think of Ant as being a grumpy old man in a 26-year-old's body. Yeah. Right, what's your question?
Are minions just following orders, or do they have free will?
Yes. Although this does touch on something I suppose you haven't touched on yet with minions.
They have free will. They knowingly commit evil. Because they do. They choose these evil people. They flock to these evil people. It's not that the evil people ask them to come. The minions go out of their way to seek evil and commit crimes. Minions are the worst. I don't know how many more times I can explain this. They're awful. I don't know how many more philosophical arguments you want me to make. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Do you want me to literally dress up as a minion and go, I'm a minion, I support the Holocaust? Like, how many more things do I need to say to convince you, dear listener, that minions are the worst thing? They are the worst thing. And they're bright yellow. They're wacky Tic Tacs and they're awful. Stop it.
You heard it here first. Anthony will be dressed as a minion on our next podcast.
They're bad. And they're annoying. And they always pop up on Facebook memes and stuff. Like, old people post memes, and it's got, like, a minion there, and then it's got a quote beside it, like, completely unrelated to minions.
That's what I was just about to say.
Right,
That's what
like,
I love about it, is that it's completely unrelated to being a minion.
It's like, it's something like, back in my day, we didn't care about getting paid. And, you know, and it's like, and it's got a minion there, and it's like, what has that got to... And the minion's pulling, like, that smug face. You know, like, that smug face you see in a lot of... bizarrely in a lot of characters in films these days. Like, Boss Baby. He, like, has this stupid, smug, like, look on his face. Minions do that as well. And I hate it. I hate this trend. A lot of animated films are doing that.
You just hate animated films. You hate people.
Minions.
You hate minions. You hate, you know... I think we can remove Minions questions now because I think you've really
Minions are
answered
done.
every Minions
They're done.
question you can possibly answer. So please,
done.
no more Minion questions. But thank you for the Minion questions.
No more fan mail. Actually, if
yes,
you've got
no.
a spare time, watch the Ringo Starr YouTube video.
Yeah.
No more fan mail. It's really funny.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
No more Minions.
I need
done.
another one.
They're done. Oh, you do?
Yes. It's all right.
Sorry, that wasn't a 30-second waffle. That was a 30-minute waffle.
It was a 3-minute rant. Ooh. Why do you like Mamma Mia the hit musical?
No, we've done that.
Sure, I've answered
We've done
this
that.
question
No,
before.
we've done that.
Yeah. All right.
Producer Caroline's having a
Oh.
beer today. We can't read them.
I'm sure I've answered. I'm sure I've answered something very, very similar on Mamma Mia. Ah, from Monika.
Friend of the show, Monika.
Why is tomato sauce better than mayo?
Nice.
Actually, it's probably going to be the hardest question I've ever had to answer.
Nice.
Tomato sauce is better than mayonnaise because tomato sauce has convinced an entire generation of children to eat something vaguely approaching a tomato. Tomato sauce has done for sauce what McDonald's did for the hamburger, in that it has made tomato sauce accessible and palatable to the masses. Mayo has done nothing similar for eggs.
Nice.
I fucking hate tomato sauce. Why anybody has tomato sauce on anything, I don't understand. I legitimately do not understand why you eat tomato sauce on anything. It is sugary red syrup. It has about as much to do with tomatoes as my left foot has to do with Mozart. I like it. It is.
Mayo is superior in every way.
Mayo is superior in every single way.
Also,
I hate
tomato sauce. Have ketchup, for God's sake. Get Heinz ketchup. If you're gonna go down that road, get Heinz ketchup.
At least that's right. At least get a proper one.
Yeah.
Like, and I hate.
What is
look, I
tomato
hate
sauce?
you know what gets me, and I know you've talked about this before. Is the jingoistic idea of like, in order to be a Kiwi, you have to eat tomato sauce. No, you don't.
The
No,
appropriation.
you legitimately don't.
Appropriation of New Zealand culture.
Yes, yeah. You have to eat what is tomato sauce. No, you don't. I don't have to ruin any food I have.
No.
By putting red sugary muck on it. I hate tomato sauce.
And then you get kids who just
with an
cover
absolute passion.
It's a thing, eh? Like kids cover like
everything in tomato
sauce.
I hate it.
Everything.
I hate it. It's
Don't they,
sugar
producer
syrup.
Caroline?
It's horrific.
I'm calling you out.
Yeah, producer Caroline's
She
a
puts-
tomato sauce fan.
She puts it on.
It's disgusting.
It is.
Makes me want to barf a little bit in my mouth every time I see it. It's really gross. I just.
My ruin. Like, what's the point of
Why?
food? You might as well just
I was going to
tomato
go,
sauce by itself.
I was going to
if
go
you
to
want
my.
everything to
I was
taste
going
like
to go
that.
to my standard saying, which what I normally say in situations like that would be, well, clearly all your taste is in your mouth, but if you're eating tomato sauce, apparently it isn't. Apparently it's not even there, because you're eating tomato sauce. All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end
Feeling a bit
of
lightheaded now.
episode 16. You're feeling lightheaded. That's good because we're
after
about
that.
to go into a stream, so that's gonna be really great for stream content. So hopefully this afternoon we are finishing off Soma, which should be uploaded to the YouTube. So this is will be uploaded to YouTube for you to watch, but we will be live. This is Saturday, so we'll be live this afternoon. 2:30, playing some Sono, finishing it off, and having fun. And like, I was just thinking about this today, actually, funnily enough, just as we wrap up. I was thinking today, I was sort of like, Saturday I'm busy, what am I doing? I thought, you know what's really cool is that I get to wake up in the weekend and go, what am I going to do today? I'm going to get up, I'm going to have a few beers with my best friend, talk rubbish about stuff that, and then play some games and talk more rubbish. And I go, and that's legitimately what we do for work here at Esoterica.
Yeah. Couldn't think of a better way to spend a Saturday.
It's kind
really.
of cool.
It's
I was
really
like,
cool.
I was like,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a good thought.
Yeah. Awesome. So, thank you very much, lovely esoterics. We'll see you on the Discord. We'll see you on stream. Please hit us up on all of the social media sites. Hit us up on Instagram. I know producer Caroline's been working very hard on our Instagram.
Yeah.
Hit us up on all of those sorts of things. Please, come and join us on Twitch. Come and follow us on our Twitch. Hashtag get Esoterica affiliated.
Yeah.
We need all of you to come and follow us so we can get affiliated. So hopefully we can start earning some money, which
some
would be
cool
quite
stuff.
nice. For us to carry on doing things like this podcast and Twitch streams and other content that we're talking about bringing to you. So hashtag get James and Ant affiliated. Please come and join us on Twitch.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. See you next week.